Hi, I'm Kat. Today I'll be going over one of the longest missions currently available on Next Island in the game Entropia Universe. First thing to note, this mission is available for everyone to take, so do not be afraid to take it. But please keep in mind, this mission is going to take a lot of time to grind out. The pace at which you complete this mission is really going to come down to how much you're willing to put in, be it your time or your money. The fastest way to complete this mission will cost you more PED. The game's current in-game currency, which translates to 10 PED, is $1. Whereas if you want to go down the more free-to-play route, be prepared to sacrifice a lot more time for this mission. Freer means slower, faster means slightly more pricier. Now you've decided you have the PED, you have the time, you have the willpower, and you're ready to start grinding for this mission. Keep in mind, I spent 116 days speed running through this mission. I sacrificed my sleep schedule to push my patience to its limit to become the first islander. Trust me, do not go crazy like me. You do not need to speed run this mission, and I very much recommend you do not. So, you're up for the challenge, or you're simply curious about what it takes to get through this grind of a mission, stick around because I'll be sharing with you my experiences, giving you some tips, tricks, and telling you exactly what to expect along the way. So let's get down to what it takes to become an islander of Next Island. First things first, let's talk about what this mission actually involves. This mission spans over 137 days, if you're not rushing through it like I did. Here's a quick breakdown of what you're going to be doing over this insane period of time. The first thing you'll want to do is pick up the Becoming an Islander mission from Medea at Thebes in ancient Greece. This will start you on your journey to becoming an islander. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the mission is open to all, which means no need to worry if you are a trueborn. A trueborn is a new player that chose Next Island as their starter planet when signing up for Entropia Universe. I'll put links in the description if you would like to know more about trueborns or how to sign up to Entropia Universe through Next Island as your starter planet. Once you have the mission, do not, under any circumstance, abandon it. You will have to start the whole process again, and you'll lose any progress you made. Now that you have been warned, let's get down to the Islander Pursuit mission from Evridiki. She will give you a list of options. I know it looks like a lot, but we're going to go through them all in detail in a moment. The thing to note is you have to choose one of the options per day. This mission, however, can be abandoned and retook if you made the wrong choice. This mission does reset every 20 hours. So let's get down to the list. Firstly, anything that includes hunting, mining, crafting or harvesting will cost you money, whereas anything you can do for free will only cost your time. Fishing is a little bit different, but I will explain that. Let's start with the free options you can do for this mission. Firstly, there's the obvious ones like sweating and fruit gathering. Keep in mind, sweating is successful attempts and not bottles of sweat. Likewise, fruit gathering is successful finds and not amount of fruit found. These are two great options for people that passively sweat or collect fruit. Then there's the less obvious one, ancient Greece fishing. This one's a tricky one to explain, as there is a free option and a non-free option. The non-free option will cost you 8 papu tails per attempt. You'll have to wait about 10 minutes for each attempt, and there's a chance you could be spending an hour without catching a fish. There are 3 outcomes: Guppy Goldberg, Marlin Monroe, and nothing. It's a relatively low cost way, but it will take you the longest amount of time provided you have a fishing rod. If you don't, you will need to either craft or buy one, which is the only expensive part of this route. Now, onto the not so free way. I'll start with the cheapest options and the easiest one to the more expensive. If you own yourself a Reaper 3 or a Terratech 3, you might want to consider going out and cutting large trees. Trees can be found all over Next Island in ancient Greece. Each player has their own favourite spot to cut trees. My personal though is on what I like to call Tree Island. Getting there is pretty easy nowadays. Before, the only way to get there was by flying over. You'll need to head over to Crimson Fields and then click this suspicious looking plaque. I know, don't click anything on Next Island as it might lead to death, but trust me on this one. This will take you to a forbidden fishing zone. Welcome to Tree Island. Here you will want to look for only large trees. These are the ones that will count for the mission. This is what I would say is a relatively low cost mission, as you're only spending on decay of the tool. If, however, mining is your thing, Dark Lysterium mining might just be the option for you. Now you'll need to find claims of over 1.5 ped, which is in the middle of a poor claim and above. Poor claims can be anywhere from 1 ped to 1.99 peds worth. At the moment, from my experience, Dark Lysterium can be found quite often on Next Island. However, this might change. The best spot on Next Island for planet-specific ores and end matter, I would say, is a place called Lodestone Reach. I'll put a link in the description on how to unlock Lodestone Reach. The cost of this mission I'm not too sure about, as I'm not a miner myself. What if I'm a crafter? Well, there is an option for you. Being that you have the texture blueprint, Amalite texture. If you have this blueprint, this might be the option for you. If you don't, it can be quite expensive to buy this blueprint due to it being rare. I'll put on the screen the cost of 50 attempts. It's just attempts and not successful crafts. Now I'll move on to hunting. There are two options. One I would recommend, the other I would say stay away at all costs. I'll start with the one that I will recommend, which is option 1. Mugging monkeys. This is the option I took for the mission. It costs roughly 50 to 60 peds of ammo alone using the LR40. I'll keep it to just ammo cost and not decay. This cost may vary depending on which weapon you choose. You will need to kill 100 mugging monkeys that can be found at the collision site in ancient Greece. There is an easy way to get there through the vast ports at Thebes, not too far from the NPCs. These will drop items that players are looking to buy, such as Papu Tooth, so cycling is easy if you're smart about selling things. Option 2, Famished Fish. Now don't get me wrong, they have got some nice items in their loot, like the ancient Greece vases and the Amazon legs, but you will be spending way more money on these, even with the LR40. It's roughly about 340 peds of ammo for 50 sharks. I would not recommend this mission due to that high cost and low reward. Once you're locked into your path to becoming an islander, what can you expect at the end of this mission? Well, along with some pretty cool cosmetics and this blueprint that you can make a white looking picket fence that you can customize, you'll also get this flower that can sit above your head. I'll come back to it later why this is important, but you'll also get this unlimited texturizer. Currently, there are only 2 options for unlimited texturizers in game, this now being the second. There's also an extra bonus from getting the Islander status achievement on seasonal missions, for example with the current Halloween mission. Currently, players can get 5 eyeballs which provide interesting buffs, whereas Islanders with the achievement can get 10 of these. True Islanders will still get 15 even if they've done the mission. Not only that, but during the scheduled warps run by Archangels, you'll only have to pay 5 ped if you have that flower that I mentioned. You'll have to wear it to prove that you are an Islander. Everyone else will have to pay 10 peds, or if you are a Trueborn, the warp is completely free for you. Well, you're probably wondering, Kat, how did you do it in 116 days when the mission says 137? Well, let me tell you this, it wasn't easy, there was a lot of sleepless nights, but I will go into it and tell you exactly what I did so that you know how to do this mission as fast as possible. Firstly, you're going to want to set up a time system. I'm going to hit you with a few numbers. This mission is a 20-hour cooldown. Keep that number in mind. I spent roughly 8 minutes per day on this mission. I'll go into detail later about how I did that, but based on this, we can set up our system. I used a good old spreadsheet to create a system where all I needed to do was add in how long it took me to do each mission, and then it calculated my next reset. It wasn't a perfect system, and sometimes I accidentally got the in-game time mixed up with my real life time. At the moment, the UK is in daylight savings, which means our time is 1 hour ahead of in-game time. In-game time uses UTC. This is the most important thing, is setting your timer to go off a few minutes before the mission is actually active. This allows you time to get past the in-game login screen and get to your mission. If you are online before the mission is active and you're staring at the NPC expecting that exclamation mark to turn from blue to yellow, don't bother waiting. It's not going to happen. You can simply just spam click on the NPC till it gives you the mission options. Now, I did mention earlier that I took the mugging monkey option, and there's a very good reason for this. This mission I can complete on average 7 to 8 minutes per day, depending on my personal grind that day. How do I do it? Well, the LR40 plus my crit rings and reload rings means I take 2 shots to kill each monkey. As for looting, I have a small tip about this. I know this is going to sound like a waste of ped, but one way to speed up this mission is to get your hands on some loot pills. Just the trade terminal ones are fine. A good method for this is to use the pill, do the mission, and then log straight out for the next day. I know it means you don't get to do any more gameplay for that day, but the timer on the loot pill will stop as soon as you log out. But this is just a personal preference of mine for this mission, to keep the cost as low as possible. Now, there will be times you'll miss hours or even days depending on your obligation and jobs, or even going over to your friend's house to play video games. I'm on day 63. I forgot to check when my daily comes up. It was 5 a.m. And there will be times you'll get up at odd hours of the day, so naps are kind of essential to avoid having to lose too much sleep over this. Now, this is the most craziest way of doing this mission, and trust me, this method is not for everyone, so don't stress yourself too much if you miss a day, week, or month on this mission. Just do it with your own limitation and your own time. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future, and I hope to see more islanders running around Next Island.